Well, yeah, I've heard of infinite. I've heard of like infinite, like I've heard of infinite returns, which kind of may be the same thing. Maybe if you, oh, you meant like well, when I think about infinite banking, I'm thinking about infinite returns. Like for example, let's say for my first rental property, I bought it for $38,000. I put $30,000 into it, so which makes me in it for $68,000. And then let's say, um, I get it appraised. It appraises at $92,000, and let's say the bank will give me a loan on the 92,000 cash out refinance at, let's say, at $68,000. So and then I start renting it out for like 1050 a month. Um, like now my returns can be infinite because I don't have any money into the deal at all. Like no money in the deal, and I'm making money. So it's like, how you have like 100% return or 50% return.
Mhm.
Um, that was my idea, but it may not be the same thing you're talking about. I just when I think about infinite, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like there's no money, there's like the return is like beyond 100%. Like so yeah. So like if I gave if I've invested $1,000 into something and it and I got back $2,000. Yeah, if I got back $2,000, that's 100% return. But let's say I invested 1,000, I got back like 4,000 over and over, and that's kind of like an infinite. That's what I think about, but I could be wrong. What you come about when you found out about infinite returns
So it was like
or infinite banking? I meant.
the way they explained it was like you are your own bank, and so it's basically like you use like this IUL, like a like
Oh
some life insurance policy, and it basically like I don't know. It's like basically like you're basically your own bank. The way they were explaining it, and so I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I have heard about that too. So yeah, it's two different. Yeah, so what I was talking about don't is not that, but yeah, infinite. I've heard of that. Like that's kind of how the Rockefeller method was kind of the Rockefeller versus the Rockefeller versus the Vanderbilt method was similar to that, which I think would be a cool idea if I since we're here and it's just me and you, and it'd be pretty cool. I'll pull up what I got. I saw the other day if I can find it. I'm sure I'll find it. Let me do some searching. Um uh
yeah, they're like if you put like 10K in to the policy, like your death benefit is like 1 million. But then like if you just do that for like if you keep putting in like 10K for like 5 years, like your equity, which is like money you can use against, would be like a good amount. So that way you're basically like your own bank to where some people basically live off of that or they can like use it for investment purposes and stuff instead of having to go to the bank to take out
right.
loans.
Yeah, yeah. So like yeah, so like let's say you got $1 million policy. Your death benefit is 10,000, which means you're paying like the meaning like the 10,000 is what they gonna use to bury you, but you have that $90,000. I mean 900 million. Is it what is it? It'd be 990 million. Your 990 million is would be the gain. The what you call it. So like you can borrow against that, and
Hmm.
you won't never move because you're. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing I haven't figured out. Let me see if I got that book too. Hold on one second. I have a gang of books over here, man. Yeah, I got a gang of books. I got something else I'm gonna show you. Oh yeah, I found it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I have a gang of books, and so this is the book right here that talks all about that. What would the Rockefellers do? I'm not sure yet. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, what would Rockefellers do? Let me see if I can find a summary or something on this book, cause that'd be pretty cool if I can pull that up real quick. What would the Rocker be good for some content? Okay, let me see. Hmm, they may actually have the let me share my screen. See, um, okay, so if I'm on Chrome, let me see, YouTube. Let me see on YouTube, share screen. Let me see. Okay, now I'm on my screen. Dang, I don't know why. Okay, this might not be the screen I was looking for. Okay, so I'll just type it into here. What? 'Cause I just saw it. Let me see. Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, so you have this. Okay, so this guy right here, see what this guy says. See if this pops up.
If we look at the people that really created wealth in this country or in
Yeah.
this world, you look at the Carnegies or the Rockefellers or the Disneys, right? These people very openly talk about this in books, and if you look at their genesis, they have created their own banking structure with life insurance,
Yes.
with it specifically cash value building life
You
insurance.
become your own bank.
You become your own bank. If
Yes, that's pretty much you talking about, right? Could you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'm gonna switch the night topic up because this is pretty interesting. We're gonna talk about this. Let me
Okay.
see. Uh, and this is that book right here. Let me see. Man, I got a feeling. I'm gonna see what happens when I click on this. So this might. Let's see what happens.
Before I begin,
See chapter 7. Let's go to chapter 1. Because this thing might actually have the whole book on here. Let me see. We can at least get a chapter of this thing while we're at it, so we can kind of have an understanding of what's going on. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see what's going. Hmm. What would the Rockefellers do? Chapter 1, audiobook by Nathan Turner II. That ain't the author I got. The author I got is Garrett B. Gutson. So I don't know. Let's see what this. Let's see what this happens when I click on this real quick, because that's not I'm saying author.
before I begin, be sure to like the video and leave a comment on what you think of it. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to keep up with further audiobook readings.
What would the Rockefellers do? How the wealthy get and stay that way, and how you can too. By Garrett B. Gunderson and Michael G. Isom. Chapter 1. A Critical Discovery. Only the man who does not need it is fit to inherit wealth. The man who would make his own fortune no matter where he started. If an heir is equal to his money, it serves him. If not, it destroys him. But you look on and you cry that money corrupted him. Did it? Or did he corrupt the money? Francisco de Anconia, Atlas Shrugged. Imagine one of your great-grandchildren presiding over a family fortune of tens of millions of dollars, or even hundreds of millions of dollars. And imagine that whenever your great-grandchild receives a check to help pay for education, or to buy their first home, or to start a business, or even to help survive financial disasters like medical bills, illness, or disability, your grandchild gives a quick toast to your memory. Your grandchild toasts to you because you started it all. You amassed wealth and left behind a set of values and a financial legacy to shepherd that wealth. Is this possible? Is it possible for you not just to leave your kids better off than you were, but to spark a financial legacy of wealth and empowerment that lasts for generations? Yes, it is. It's possible to create a family fortune that lives on in perpetuity, benefiting generation after generation after you, and it's possible to do it without creating trust fund babies who know how to spend money and little else. Instead, your wealth can be used to empower future generations. It can act as a launching pad for all of their endeavors, whether those are professional, academic, charitable, or entrepreneurial in nature. It's not easy and does take careful planning, but it has been done. For real-world examples, we need only look to America's past. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, two of America's wealthiest businessmen amassed incredible fortunes that each separately towered over the fortunes of Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Mark Zuckerberg combined. Their names were Cornelius Vanderbilt and John D. Rockefeller, and the story of what happened to their fortunes embodies a lesson for anyone planning to leave wealth for the next generation.
All right, so right here, this is like the first part, so we can go break that down. So what it's saying, what I got from it just now was saying that like, in the 19th and 20th century, in the beginning of that time, you had like these two big dogs. You had Cornelius Vanderbilt and you had John D. Rockefeller. They were like the two, right? The two richest. You know what I mean? And what we're gonna learn is how you might have had one of them might have been richer than the other, but how they left is what was that made a difference. Meaning the legacy, like how you structure your before you get ready to die, how you structure and you're gonna lead to your family, how you set up the insurance policy, how you didn't set up the insurance policy, how you got estate tax, how you was able to like avoid the tax by just the financial strategies. And these kind of things is the things that keep somebody from maybe it's a difference. It's like the difference in your money continuing to grow hundreds of years after you die versus your money's dwindled to the point of like your legacy isn't there no more, as far as your heirs don't have any more of the money. So that's we're gonna go into the next. We're gonna shoot into the next part, which is gonna be the fortune of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Let's gonna talk about it. Let me see how this works. Let me see. Here we go. Did you have any questions, or did you have anything that you had got out of that before
I think that was like powerful because I mean it's just like they basically are setting like not just like themselves like in this present and that in their present time, but like future generations, which like even like to this day, and it's just like that's just mind blowing on like how like stuff like that. I mean like if you just start now. I mean you look at it like 10, 15, 30, 50, 60 years from now, like our families will be like benefiting off of that. And I feel like that's how like one of like the biggest traits on how a person can build wealth is like leaving something for like the next generation to come.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, man. Here we go. The fortune of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Here we go.
The fortune of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt made his fortune in the transportation business, starting by ferrying goods and passengers around New York Harbor in the early 19th century. Soon, his business expanded to shipping goods from the West Coast to the East Coast, using Nicaragua as a passageway. Eventually, he switched from ships to trains, where he made his largest fortune yet in the railroad business. At his death in 1877, Vanderbilt's fortune was estimated to top $100 million, which was more than the U.S. Treasury held at the time. That's more than $200 billion with a B in today's dollars. But even as the richest man in America, Vanderbilt lived a relatively modest life. He gave some money to charity. He donated $1 million to help start Vanderbilt University, and he also donated to churches. But 95% of his fortune was passed on to his son, William Henry Vanderbilt, leaving his surviving wife and children to split the rest. William Henry Vanderbilt did well, doubling the family fortune before his death, 9 years after the passing of his father. But that was the last time the Vanderbilt family fortune would grow. The Vanderbilt heirs became known as wealthy socialites with a penchant for lavish spending. There were 10 Vanderbilt mansions built in Manhattan, including the largest private residence ever built there, plus several more around the country. Many of these homes seem more like palaces, such as the Breakers in Newport, Rhode Island, which still stands today. But without any new money coming in, the fortune couldn't survive the spendthrift Vanderbilt heirs. By 1947, All 10 Vanderbilt Manhattan mansions had been torn down. It is said that Cornelius Vanderbilt's last words were, "Keep the money together." But the Vanderbilt heirs failed fabulously. The family fortune was squandered in just a handful of generations. A direct descendant of Cornelius died broke just 40 years after he did.
Dang. See what I'm saying? So this is so crazy because I've been reading the Warren Buffett book, and it was a long book. And it's at the point where Warren Buffett is in the, I think it's in the 80s. He just turned 55. He just hit $1 billion. He went from he got his first million before 30. He was worth 72 million by the time he was 46. And then by the time he was 55, he had 1 billion. So that's
Dang.
billion. You see what I'm saying? Like those are jumps, like 1 million to 72, 1 million, 72 million, 72 million to like, I think 600 million to $1 billion. It was like because of his compound interest and all that stuff. But Warren Buffett has this thing about like his money, like as far as like he's not necessarily, he's charitable, but he's not charitable while he's living. And the idea is he feel like he can he can use the money to invest more money, so there's more money to leave when he dies to society. Meaning he don't want to leave the money to his children. He feels like he's gonna he'll set his children up to do whatever they want to do, like if in their careers and their lives, but he's not leaving his money to them. Meaning I'm gonna pay for your education, I'm gonna pay for whatever you want to do. If you want to be a farmer, if you want to be a singer, whatever it is, I'm gonna invest in that, but you have to find your own way, because he feels like just because you are the star quarterback of the New York Jets doesn't mean that when that star quarterback dies, his son should inherit the position. You see what I mean? It wasn't meaning you have to earn it. Like you can't, like, just because you're the quarterback and because I died, I mean somebody, you know what I mean? The stuff don't work that way. He look at
Yeah.
money and stuff the same way. Like it's like I'm not gonna just leave you my money and you haven't earned it, and like so you can dwindle it away. So that's kind of like and you have to teach, and that's the issue. You have to teach the kids, teach people what to do with money early. I know the Jewish community are really good about teaching their kids about like money and what to do with it, and that's kind of like and they teach their kids, and their kids teach their kids, and it keeps going on. That's how they compound. Where the Vanderbilt, he didn't do it. Remember, see how it said he lived a modest life. He gave money to charity. He donated $1 million just to start Vanderbilt University, and he also donated to churches. But 95, like majority, like, so that's only like 5%. All that we just said was 5%. 95 of it went passed down to his son, which is fine to pass down money to your kids. You just have to know how to do it. You can't just like,
Yeah.
you can't just have the money sitting in a savings account. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna die, and then now my kid gonna get the money. It's like, it don't work like that, because the way the government is structured is there's an estate tax. And when you leave a majority of your money to, they're gonna hit you with like a huge estate tax. So I don't know what the percentage is, but we'll find out as we go. But yeah, man, what do you think about that? About what you had got out of the?
I think that's 100% right. And I was just talking to someone the other day, and the biggest thing we were saying, because it's a scripture in the Bible that says a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Which, yes, it's great to leave them something, but also at the same time, though, they have to understand and they have to have that knowledge on what you're leaving them. Because, like, I'm not going to leave them $1 million and then they go and blow it. No, I'm gonna leave you $1 million, but this is what you do with that million. This is how you, like, so that way you just don't blow it all, because that's when I've seen a lot of people, they'll get into an inheritance and then they'll just blow it. Whereas in, like, with all these other like big time like the Rockefellers and everything, like other, like in the Vanderbilts, like, I mean, they position their families to keep the wealth in the family. Because you always that's why, I guess, why I heard that norm when people say, if you buy a property, don't sell it, it's gonna stay in the family forever. It's kind of something like similar to this, what we're talking about, in a way,
Yeah,
passing it
yeah,
down, but teaching them how to handle it properly instead of just
right,
giving it to them.
right. All right, now we just went through the fortune of Cornelius Vanderbilt. So we have Cornelius Vanderbilt. He's the first big dog. and then you got the second big dog, who is John D. Rockefeller. And I guess the equivalent to that would be you have Elon Musk, and then you have like Larry Ellison, or you have like Jeff Bezos. Like those are like, like today's big dogs because of the wealth they've amassed, right? So they're like, when you think about wealth, you think Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Larry Ellison. Those are like, though, all these guys got like, all of these are like guys who have, I think Elon got 500 billion, Jeff Bezos has 400 billion, Larry Ellison has like 400 or 500 billion. Like all these guys are on the way to be trillionaires within the next couple of years. That's pretty crazy. So right now, the fortune of John D. Rockefeller. Let's see what he got going on, and we'll get to learn the difference between the two and how to, like, structure our lives for eventually. Sorry about that. Darn school county calling me. Why are they calling me on a Sunday? All right, I gotta block their number so they stop calling my phone.
The fortune of John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller made his fortune selling oil and kerosene. He started Standard Oil of Ohio in 1870, and by the end of the decade, his business was refining more than 90% of the oil in the United States. Rockefeller's objective was to deliver the best oil at the cheapest price. He once wrote to a partner, "We must ever remember we are refining oil for the poor man, and he must have it cheap and good." And Rockefeller succeeded, pushing the price of oil down from 58 cents to 8 cents a gallon. The result was that Rockefeller became the richest man in American history. The New York Times said in Rockefeller's 1937 obituary that he had amassed more than $1.5 billion. In today's dollars, estimates of his wealth vary between $240 billion and $341 billion. Rockefeller was a prolific giver, donating more than $530 million of his fortune to charity during his lifetime. He also left $460 million to his son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., otherwise known as Jr., in 1917. Unlike the Vanderbilts, Jr. kept the family money together by creating a trust for each of his children, a daughter and 5 sons. The bulk of the family fortune was put into these trusts, managed by a group of financial professionals referred to as the family office, which would provide Junior's kids with interest income. 6 generations later, the family office is still managing the Rockefeller fortune, which is estimated to be more than $10 billion. More than 150 Rockefellers currently receive interest income from the family trusts, and the family is said to donate as much as $50 million per year to charity, carrying on the senior Rockefellers' tradition of philanthropy.
Oof, man, that was pretty cool. So one thing I can say that we learned is, one thing that we learned was, okay, one thing they did differently was he did the same thing. He so one thing he did was, Vanderbilt did the transportation. He was in the transportation industry. Rockefeller was in the oil industry, and they both amassed a huge amount of money. One left all his money to his son, and that was it. Didn't set it up in any kind of structure or anything. The other figured out structure, and he said he put his wealth. He left his money to his kids too, but the way he did it was he put his into a trust, which trusts are important. So he put it into a trust, which the trust is managed by a family office, and that's the thing that's what they call like the thing that manages the trust, the family office. And I heard about. I was listening to alux.com, which is on YouTube. They had a video about the family office, which the family office is not like a literal like office where you go down to like a building. It's like that's just a name they give the thing that structures trust. So and the way they had that set up was looked like that those trusts was like pinching off like dividends, like little interest payments off, versus like I'm gonna give you the bulk of the money. It's like, no, we're gonna set it up as like, being able to get like, interest payment, and then to be able to still like donate. They've been able to still donate $50 million a year. That's some crazy. Well, this guy been dead for like almost 100 years, if not 100 years. Let me see how. He died in 1917, and they've been able to, and he left 460 million in 1917, and they've been able to donate $50 million a year plus since then. That is crazy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. What do you get out of that? Like, what you get out of that, Mike?
I think the biggest thing I got about it is how it was the difference. Sorry, I'm outside. The difference is how um the first guy, he had just left it to his son, whereas in this guy, he basically had it structured for his family, which is important, like we were just talking about, because like you can give them something, but they can destroy it by like tomorrow. Whereas in with this guy, he already had like the blueprint set up to make sure that his family will be set for generations even to this day.
Right. That's, right. Here we go. Next section is choosing the Rockefeller method. That's what we want to do. We want to be more like the Rockefellers and not like the Vanderbilts, as far as what methods to set up so we can eventually become our own banks. And so the money is not just given away to the government, or it's not getting taxed, like have it structured right. And this is going to teach us how to do that. And I think what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go into each chapter each week of this book to learn how to do this by the time, because I don't know how many chapters it is, but by the time we finish this in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to have this thing down pat and we'll understand what we're getting out of this. I think it's pretty cool. So
Heck
let's
yeah.
choose choosing the Rockefeller method. Here we go, next part.
Choosing the Rockefeller Method. What made the difference? Why did the Rockefellers keep their fortune while the Vanderbilts lost everything? The answer, ironically, is that the Rockefellers heeded the last words of Vanderbilt. They did keep the money together, using trusts as a legal tool to protect the fortune as much as possible from taxes, lawsuits, and spendthrift heirs. This wise financial planning has empowered 6 generations of Rockefellers, and many Rockefellers have found success in business and politics, with 3 governors, a senator, and a United States vice president among John D. Rockefeller's descendants. Conversely, the last well-known Vanderbilt descendant is the television host Anderson Cooper, who had to fight his way into the industry, even forging press credentials to get a chance to report news. The Vanderbilt fortune was not there to help. The lesson is clear. If you want to empower your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, don't simply leave the money to spend as they please. Keep the money together. Design trusts that direct how money can and cannot be spent, and pass on your values to the next generation so that your vision doesn't stop with you. The Rockefeller Method isn't just for the Rockefellers. The two of us, Michael Eisem and Garrett Gunderson, have changed our family's financial destinies by using this method and the financial strategy at its core.
Man, so that's pretty cool right there, man, to be able to be able to have this here and be able to learn that and be able to use the Rockefeller method. This is going to set us up and show us how to what people don't know, and the thing of, like you said, infinite banking, and how, and the thing that you're not going to learn this. So this is what we getting right now. You're not going to learn this in school. Uh, you're not gonna learn this in school. You most likely not gonna learn this in your communities because they don't know. But this is the thing. This is something that's been around for, like I said, forever, since the beginning of the century, and no one's ever really mentioned it or know how to do it. Because you have people who have life insurance, but they don't have it structured right. Right? They just have life insurance to pay for their funeral. That's the first. So you have people that have that. They have just life insurance just to take care of a funeral. Then you have people who have life insurance to just get a little money, leave like a little money to somebody while they're gone or whatever, right? But it can be super expensive. Then you have the people who use life insurance to be able to keep the money together and keep it growing, and for you can be able to use it as, well, you're your own bank and you're not using a traditional bank to be able to do things that's going to be able to like grow and all that stuff. So um I've always wanted to learn like how that works the right way. And then eventually, I know when I used to listen to Dave Ramsey, he was against this. Like he was against like infinite banking. He feels like infinite banking is a scam. Um, which we'll listen to him too to see what he said and why he thinks it's a scam. But obviously, if the Rockefellers doing it and they figure out how to do it the right way, then it's not necessarily saying just because he said so. It's just more so, why do you think it's a scam? versus and why did he think it's a scam and why they don't think it's a scam and they used it to do what they need to do. So yeah, you got anything on that one?
Yeah, and I've been like, and I had did like a lot of doing my research about it, and that's like a thing. One of those wealth tools that a lot of wealthy people use. Like um they don't use their money. They don't use their money for anything. They use like other people's money. And so what they do is they'll dump a pool of money into these policies. And so I used to think the same way with life insurance, like, oh, it's just something to bury you with, which is true, but it's also people have always said like life insurance is like one of the biggest tools that wealthy people have, and I never really thought about it until like now. I'm like just understanding this, like yeah, like they do get like the death benefits and everything, but you can also like use the benefits from it while you're living, and so like you can just borrow against those policies and you can like buy assets that produce cash flow and you're basically just paying the interest on it and you just use the interest from the cash flow to take care of that. So it kind of makes sense, like, but I guess it's like the more and more you do your research about it, then it kind of gets like concrete over time.
Right, man. He nailed it. Nailed it. I think now the next part, I think the guy may go into his story about how he got to this. Not really sure. At least that's what in the book. Cause I'm following along with the book while we also listening to this, so I can kind of see. But I think the next part he's gonna go into kind of how he grew up and kind of like how he got to this point. But this is super cool. 'Cause like I said, we get to learn. Yeah, we get to learn, and we get to also give feedback on what we might have got out of it. And like I said, like however many part this series goes, it's gonna be pretty cool because I think I'm gonna like turn this into a podcast base where it's like we have the video where we watching the video, we're speaking of it, we're going through the book, we're talking about the book, we're giving our feedback, and then yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty cool little thing that we're gonna be able to get here. And yeah, let's see how this goes on the next part.
Michael Isom's story, most valuable tuition ever paid. I'm about to get raw with you now. On a Tuesday morning in mid-October 2010, I woke up to the noise of someone knocking on our front door. It was my father-in-law. I opened the door and said, "What's up? It's early." And then I saw two large moving trucks backing into the driveway of our home. My father-in-law said, "I'm here with Terry and Derek, my brothers-in-law, to move Wendy and the kids out." "No one is going anywhere," I said, and I slammed the door in his face. It was a complete surprise to me, but I was facing the reality of my actions. 12 hours later, Wendy and our two kids were driving away from our home, leaving me to figure out I found myself on the bathroom floor screaming in shock at the reality of my family leaving me. What had I done? I felt so alone. I was scared. I was shaking, screaming, nose bleeding, snot streaming out onto the bathroom floor. "Why, God? Why?" I asked. It may be hard to believe, but this dire situation was the direct result of a bad financial philosophy. A few years earlier, at the end of 2007, I'd found myself facing the reality of losing over $4 million in a bad investment. Over time, leading up to this huge loss, I started to convince myself that the solution to saving and investing was to take high risk in the hope of getting a high rate return. I figured, high risk, high return. Now, what's funny is I was doing exactly what money managers are telling people to do today when it comes to investing. I was relinquishing control of this most important commodity in my family's life and mine, instead of maintaining control. I was focusing on a high rate of return outside of my control, outside of my business. It was a huge gamble, and I lost. Gambling is win-lose, not win-win. It's a zero-sum game. I had been in the financial services industry for 7 years at that point, and I'd been investing for more than 14 years. I asked myself, should I have known better? What was I thinking? How did this happen? Did I get greedy? I thought to myself, shame on me. What an idiot. Little did I know the huge effect that this would have on my family and me. Because what I had risked was our family's life savings. Our retirement savings were gone. Our kids' college education money was gone. We hear about people losing money like this, and we think to ourselves, that will never happen to me. We don't grasp the concept of risk and loss until it happens to us. The true cost of subjecting that amount of money to that kind of risk and losing left me paralyzed. Mentally, I could not function. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and months into over 2 years of a downward spiral. I was haunted by thoughts of suicide, major anxiety, excessive drinking, and feeling no connection with my wife and kids. I almost got divorced. I lost 2 years of my life that I will never get back. I was a mess in so many ways as a result of subjecting my family's life savings to that kind of risk. That Tuesday in 2010, shaking on my bathroom floor, I reached a turning point. I felt a rush come over my body that I'd never felt before. I dropped to my knees in prayer, retracing all of the steps that had led to this. I committed in that moment to extract the life lessons, overcome them, and never let it happen again. Suddenly, I knew what my life's purpose was all about. Finding a new way to handle money and finance that doesn't follow the high risk, high return paradigm, and sharing it with everyone I can possibly reach so that they never have to go through the kind of pain I was in. I went to work. I went to work on myself. I knew that I had to get healthy in every area of my life to get my family back, and I did just that. Little by little, this book, that book, this class, that class, this mentor, that mentor, I crawled my way back to a prosperous life and found a way to be a responsible steward of money. I asked myself, what are the most powerful financial institutions today? The answer? Banks. They control the capital. They use other people's money and make a spread on that money. They don't take much risk, and they reap a very high rate of return. So I started thinking like a bank. I started acting like a bank. I became a bank with my own money. I started doing for myself what the safest and most profitable financial institutions in America are doing. It was a discovery that the Rockefellers had figured out long ago. I created a system for paying less in tax, safeguarding money, having access to that money along the way, earning interest rather than paying it, ensuring that money survives from generation to generation, and simplifying personal finance. No longer do you have to subject yourself to the uncertainty of the stock market or any other risky investment. You can manage your money just like a bank, and I will show you exactly how to do it. Since that low point in my life, from January 2011 until now, I've assisted more business owners and professionals across the country than I ever had in my entire career up to that point. I've earned back almost all of the money that I lost. I have clients in 40 of the 50 states. I'm now often asked to share this experience with groups across the country to show what's possible. I love my life, every area of it. My relationship with my beautiful wife Wendy has never been more fulfilling. My kids and I are closer than ever. The influence I have on them is incredible. My body is functioning at a high level. I'm mentally healthy and spiritually connected. My ability to help others with money and finance, which affects every area of their lives, is transformational. I am wealthier today than I have ever been in the past, and I am now leveraging my past experiences to create massive value in the lives of others. And you can too. This philosophy is the centerpiece of the Rockefeller Method, and it was set up to assist business professionals just like you. Money and finance play a significant role in our lives, enhancing who we are. Consider these questions in your life today. How are money and finance affecting your life today? Is it enhancing it? Do you want it to? Is it holding you hostage, keeping you in the scarcity mindset, robbing you of your life's vision? Or is it being leveraged in an empowering way to lift you and others up? Is it empowering you to expand, grow, and create in every area of your life, allowing you to live an abundant life filled with the deepest expression of who you are? This can be your reality. I know it's possible, and I can show you the way. I am humbled, appreciative, and empowered to lead you in greater wisdom, insight, and understanding on this topic of finance, money, and banking. In conclusion, what would the Rockefellers do? They value and enhance more than ever before their number one asset, themselves. You are your number one asset. Most mainstream planners out there today who sell for the financial institutions and their agenda, more on their agenda in a later chapter, focus on property value assets only. Property value assets consist of things like your home, your business, cash savings, investments, real property, etc. There is little to no mention of one's human life value assets, HLV. HLV assets consist of things like your education, your life experiences, your integrity, your knowledge, and your personal self-worth. HLV is who you are as a person. HLV is the source and creator of all property value. It's a simple formula. Do you want more property value in your life? Then you have to increase your HLV first. And I love this about the Rockefellers the most. As they've shown us, you can leave both your property value assets and your HLV assets to your family when you pass on. It's not one or the other. Your number one investment has been and always will be your own business/career. The Rockefellers had it figured out. Think about it. You are maintaining control versus relinquishing control. You have the most knowledge and expertise in this area. You care the most about this area. You are passionate about this area. This leads us to the number one strategy today, the Rockefeller strategy of saving. We can show you how to reserve and leave behind the greatest amount of wealth for generations to come by using this strategy. This is what we call cash flow insurance. In the chapters that follow, you will discover exactly what cash flow insurance is, how it works, and why it's the most efficient way for you to grow your wealth in coordination with everything else in your life. I am personally excited for you to benefit from these timeless strategies. Garrett Gunderson's story. I grew up in the coal mining town of East Carbon, Utah, a tiny community of only 1,000 or so people where everybody knew each other. My father and my grandfather were coal miners, and I was born into financial bondage. My parents gave me everything they could by instilling great values, hard work, perseverance, and love, but they couldn't give me much in terms of money, wealth, and financial knowledge. The only person I really knew who was a business owner was my grandfather, and it was just a side business in addition to his work as a coal miner, repairing televisions, and playing in a band. As a little kid, I would go around with him as he drove his red van around to people's houses and helped them repair their TVs. Everybody knew him and respected him. I would sit and watch him work in his shop, and as I grew up, I grew to admire him more and more. See, my grandfather is my hero. He was the patriarch who glued our family together. He was always family-oriented, always made time for family, coming to every ball game, every birthday party. Imagine if he had all of this and the power of the Rockefeller Method. When I started out in financial services at 19 years old, my family, being the nice, supportive people that they are, agreed to let me help them out. I managed their money, and as the market rose in 1998 and 1999, their finances grew too. In my little community, I became a kind of Doogie Howser MD of finance. But when the market went down in 2000, I realized that I had been riding a wave. As Warren Buffett said, you find out who's swimming naked when the tide rolls back, and I was definitely swimming naked. This was one of the most pivotal times of my life. Instead of telling people they were in it for the long haul or the market is on sale, I chose to face each one of my clients and got them completely out of the declining market between March and May of 2000. I also told them I didn't really understand what I was doing. My training at the time was mainly in sales and products, not in markets and strategy, and I came clean with each client about my limited training. This saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it would have been millions if I were managing more money, but I was in my very early 20s and fortunately had just started out. People saw this act as one of integrity, and it gained their trust as I saved them money and told them to find another advisor or wait until I got really clear about what to do. I did. Then, my grandfather's sister, my great aunt, got really sick and was put in the hospital. My grandfather was an Italian immigrant, and our entire family had adopted a scarcity mindset when it came to money. He rarely spent money on anything other than his grandkids. Frugal would be the nice way to put it. And if my grandfather was frugal, my great aunt was beyond frugal. A miser. She put money in Folger's coffee cans, which she put in the cellar or buried in the backyard. She applied for welfare even though she had over $500,000 in her savings account. They never talked about money, wealth, or value creation, or taught anyone anything about stewardship. All they did with the money they made was hoard it. My great aunt, who never married, stored all of the family money in her account, even though 2/3 of it belonged to her siblings. When she went into the hospital, my grandfather and their other sister sat me down and said, "Garrett, we really need your help." No one was just being nice now. They needed to figure out how to use their money to care for my great aunt and avoid losing it to nursing care expenses and medical care costs. So I came up with a strategy for them whereby they could take care of their sister without having the money that was meant for all three of them evaporate in a year or two. I felt really good about helping my family out in that way, and my family was pretty impressed with me. But then my grandfather looked at me and said, "When you graduate, are you going to get a real job?" Even after I had helped them with this great financial strategy, my grandfather didn't really believe that being in business was a real job. To him and to my mother, it wasn't stable or secure enough. It seemed like a risk and unfamiliar territory. Maybe the long trip to the United States from Italy had created a mantra to never put the family at financial risk, but unfortunately this caution had turned into scarcity-based thinking. My grandfather and father both worked for unions that went on strike. I remember my dad eating crackers for weeks at a time because he and my mom didn't have money for food while the miners' union was on strike. And yet, they felt being a business owner wasn't stable. I was incredibly confused, and as I went through my senior year of college, I got more and more depressed. I couldn't see a clear vision of my future. I had job offers from Arthur Andersen, Merrill Lynch, American Investment Bank, and Strong Investments, which was the number 2 investment family in the world at the time. But because of the doubt instilled by my family's concerns, I was constantly questioning myself, asking if I could really do it or if I should just take one of these job offers. Even though I was already making money in the financial services field, I almost made the decision to move to Milwaukee to work for Strong Investments. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, said to me, "I don't know if I want to go to Milwaukee, but you should follow your dreams." The problem was, I couldn't tell if that's what I was doing. Even in school, nobody was encouraging me to stay in business, with the exception of one professor, the dean of the business school, Dean Templin. In a meeting, Dean Templin said to me, "You're already making more than all of your professors. Why would you take advice from them on what you want to do for a career? They're here to give you education in other areas. You just do what you're doing." And as it turned out, by helping one of my professors, who had been a fund manager previously, I ended up making a commission that was more than any of the salaries from these other job offers. So I decided to stay in business, even though it wasn't a real job according to my family. And when I showed my grandfather my bank account to let him know that everything was going to be okay, and told him about all the ways I was helping my clients, he started to tell everyone about me. Not a day went by in which he didn't get teary-eyed telling me how proud he was of me. He realized that I was doing what I loved to do, and that I was changing the future and financial destiny of our family. The strategy I ended up teaching my grandfather and his sister was the first piece of the Rockefeller Method. This knowledge can give you the chance to change your family's financial future so that the next generation isn't born into financial bondage. I started the first phase of this strategy by using cash flow insurance in 1998 as a foolproof strategy, and it has evolved into something that I will use to perpetuate my legacy. Our family will be able to advance instead of starting over every time someone from the previous generation passes away. I'll be able to take what my grandfather wished he could have given me and give that opportunity to future generations, and you will too. This methodology allowed my grandparents to leave an extra $250,000 to their heirs tax-free while enjoying a fuller life the last 10 years they were alive. That $250,000 may sound small, but they lived in a community where houses sold for $20,000 to $40,000. So, how do you leave a financial legacy that will empower your family for years? For my family, we will implement the Rockefeller Method, and we will do everything we can to avoid the Vanderbilt way. I believe the Rockefeller Method, where wealth is centralized and directed by a carefully planned trust, is the best way to perpetuate, preserve, and protect wealth. That's why I've invested substantial time and energy designing the financial legacy that I will leave my family, along with finding the right person to help, of course. Andrew L. Howell is my estate planning and asset protection attorney, and he's helped me create a plan that will empower my kids and their kids and hopefully many generations after that. As the grandson of prominent estate planning attorney Max B. Lewis and the beneficiary of a family trust himself, Andrew is the foremost expert on the topic of making family fortunes last. Recently, Andrew co-wrote the book Entrusted: Building a Legacy That Lasts with his law partner David R. York. On page 118, they describe the challenges of making family wealth survive more than just a few generations. Preserving and protecting financial wealth requires an understanding of, and a solid plan for, counteracting the three primary forces that erode wealth over multiple generations. Just as water, wind, and gravity work to erode natural monuments, three forces work to erode financial wealth over multiple generations. 1. The division of assets among the generations. 2. Transfer taxes and capital gains taxes. 3. Business risks and third-party attacks. Studies have shown that as a result of these three forces, financial wealth doesn't last past the third generation in 90% of high net worth families. This truism has sometimes been expressed as shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, an American translation of the Lancashire proverb, "There's now but 3 generations between a clog and clog." It's amazing how quickly wealth can disappear when you factor in those 3 forces: division, taxes, and risk. Andrew illustrates the point in the book. He uses as an example 2 parents with a $100 million estate. They have 4 kids, who each have 4 kids, who each again have 4 kids, the great-grandchildren. Without proper planning, and applying just the 40% estate tax to each generation transfer, each great-grandchild will receive just $343,750 out of an original $100 million. While inheriting over $300,000 isn't a bad deal, the family fortune is gone. Even leaving $100 million behind wasn't enough to beat the rule of shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. Now just imagine if you left behind $1 million or less. Your financial legacy might not even reach your grandkids. Fortunately, that's only what happens when you follow the traditional estate planning route. There is another way. From Entrusted: assume, for example, that you have sufficient funds to allow one generation to supplement its income, take more extravagant vacations, and retire early. What if those funds were instead used to foster education, provide a small but meaningful down payment on a first home, or provide loans to start a business? For how many generations could the funds last in that scenario? 2, 3, 4? What if those successive generations repaid and or replenished these funds? Would it be possible for a family to create a perpetual opportunity machine? The answer is yes. Finally, entrusted planning is built on a belief in successive generations. It says, you don't need my financial wealth, you just need a start and an opportunity. That belief in a child, grandchild, or beyond is powerful and can be life-changing. Traditional estate planning generally passes a lump sum of money with minor or few conditions, which is basically transferring the ends. Entrusted planning focuses on the means and allows the family members to create their own ends. It's based on the belief that the goal for successive generations should be self-sufficiency and independence, and so it focuses on the ability to replicate wealth and not simply on sustaining and consuming it. It's based on a simple but fundamental principle. Successive generations, when given sufficient opportunity and means, can and will achieve on their own. Entrusted planning is Rockefeller-style planning. Regardless of whether you leave 1 million or 100 million behind, you can make your financial legacy last in perpetuity if you plan it the right way. Rather than leaving wealth to the next generation, you can leave them opportunity. You can make it so your family doesn't have to start over every generation at 0, and instead is able to leverage your legacy to get a foot up in the world. For example, if my descendants have a business idea, I want to empower them to start that business with the family trust rather than leaving them to try to make it happen while working at a minimum wage job on the side. I want to help my kids pay for education without leaving them shackled in debt. And I want to empower them to make a bigger impact in the lives of others by encouraging them to make good choices. I want my trust to be a magnifying glass for good and a deterrent for evil. If they're not doing healthy, productive things, then they're not going to get access to anything. But if they are producing value, they will be empowered. For example, I have a deal with my kids that if they read and write a book report on Atlas Shrugged, I'll give them $10,000. I also have other deals in place to encourage them to find and live their sole purpose. So instead of dumping money in their laps that could ruin and spoil them, leading to a life of unhappiness, my objective is to teach them to yearn to earn. I want to avoid creating trust fund babies and instead help illuminate the sole purpose of my descendants. They will not be able to live lives of entitlement, but if they are good stewards, they will live privileged lives. That is the Rockefeller Method. And in this book, we want to share with you the financial strategy and key tool that allows it all to happen: cash flow insurance. Michael Eisem is the expert on the core of this methodology, and we have both used it to power the Rockefeller Method that has changed our family's financial destinies.
Before I begin, be sure
There we go, man. That was like the end of chapter 1, and that was powerful. I'm glad that we decided to dive into this. Like I said, I'm gonna try to make this a series. This is the first part. Next week the next week part would be, it's called Can I Really Have My Own Family Bank? So that's what we'll definitely dive into. But outside of that, man, just what we just got from that, just that whole part of just the difference in Vanderbilts, differences in the Rockefellers, um, the difference in, setting up trusts and family offices, the differences of not doing that, the differences of like the money dwindling, learning how to place the money, learning how to structure it, learning how to you know empower your family. I know one thing, I just heard him say something about the book Atlas Shrugged. I don't think I've ever heard of it. I'll have to look it up and figure out what it is, but that's something to look into because he said he's gonna pay his kids like $10,000 to read that book. So shoot, must be a pretty good book. What
Heck
you end
yeah,
up getting out
10K,
of that? Yeah,
10K to
10,000,
read a
man.
book.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, man. Yeah,
I think the biggest thing that I got out of that was really like positioning like the a person's family for the wealth. Like it's okay. It's easy. It's one thing to accumulate it, but what are you gonna do? How is the next generation gonna be able to keep it going? And it's like sometimes you'll see like these families don't. It'll only last like a couple of years once that person has gone on. But with these families, for example, with the one family, family A, theirs was his inheritance. He had messed it up, but the second family, I mean, that's still going on to this day.
right. Exactly, man. Still going on to this day. So yeah, that's pretty wild, man. Like just to be able to just to keep that thing going, and we all can learn. We all can learn from those. You know what I mean? So
That gave me motivation to show that hey, this is possible.
yeah, for
Like
sure. Yeah,
And
because
then
that's
like the biggest thing, like banks. I mean, banks make a lot of money. I mean, we deposit our money and they loan it back out, and they make money off of the interest. So why can't we do the same thing?
right. And I think we can. That's the thing. We can, man. Yeah, we definitely can. So man, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to like diving into this, learning and being able to break each part down and have an understanding. Okay, oh, okay, do it this way, do it the way, and then from there it'll help us like know what to look for and kind of like have everything set up the right way. Because like I said, like they said, cash flow. They're looking at this. They looking at this like this called this cash flow insurance. Cash flow insurance, which is powerful, man. So yeah, man, this is a great situation, man. So yeah, what the Rockefellers do, man. So yeah, yeah, what I'm gonna end up doing, I'm going to upload this. I'm going to upload this. I'm going to get us a description summary, come up with a title, um, and just come up with a whole series so I can be able to make it into a playlist. So I always have to go back to and give me some cover art as well. So yeah, man, to be able to use. For sure, man. But other than that, man, yeah, that's. I guess before we get on out of here, did you have any wins that you wanted to talk about that you had for last week?
Uh, I didn't have really. Well, I just got everything that I needed completed because next week I'm gonna be out in Texas, so I got everything I needed to this past week done, so that way I don't have to be rushing this week since I fly out Tuesday.
Oh, gotcha. Going for Texas for work or something or what?
Yeah, I'm going for work. I'm going out to Austin.
Oh wow, that's cool, man. I've never been to Austin. I don't know how long you're gonna be there, but they got like the Gigafactory out there, the Tesla factory.
Really?
Yeah, the Tesla factory, the mega factory where they build the truck, they build like the Tesla trucks and they build like all the Tesla stuff is out there in Austin. Yeah. That's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
Yeah, I
stuff
go
out
out.
there. But yeah, Austin's like the tech. Austin is like the Silicon Valley of the South.
Huh.
Yep. So yeah, man. You- So you can get check all that stuff out. They got like a lot of stuff going on in Austin. So yeah.
I fly out Tuesday and I come back Friday, so I may do a little bit of sightseeing.
Yeah, for sure, man. So yeah. So yeah, man. Guess other than that, man, we was able to get good timing, hour in. So, man, like I said, we'll do part two. We'll do the next part of this series next week, and yeah, look forward to it, man. So, yeah, I guess I'll get on out of here and I'll get with you next week. Along whoever else want to show up, but other than that, if it's just me and you, it's cool too. So,
Always. Well, I appreciate it, man.
no problem, man. All right,
And you have a good week.
you too, man.
All right.